It's amazing how many people actually believe that all disease is hereditary. Now, that's not to say that some disease isn't hereditary, but it's often what's at the end of somebody's fork that determines their health based on family history. Today's guest is going to talk about how her family actually was disease ridden. There was hypertension, diabetes, heart disease in virtually everybody in the family. Sherra Aguirre founded and led a successful business for 3 decades, winning national awards for entrepreneurship, innovation, and service excellence before selling the company in 2016 to focus on her passion for healthy diet and lifestyle. Having researched and read extensively about food-related chronic diseases, Sherra eliminated her hypertension despite family history by making changes in her diet and self-care. In today's episode, you're going to find out what she did, what she continues to do, and what she recommends. So stick around. You're in for a great treat.
Are you ready to live the life you deserve? Do you want to feel vibrantly healthy and reach your optimal weight without dieting while being kind to animals and the planet? Then you're in the right place at the right time. Get ready to hear from doctors, nutritionists, experts, and everyday men and women committed to creating a powerful life in mind, body, and soul through ethical food choices. Welcome to Plant-Based Eating for Health with your host, certified plant-based nutritionist, Kathleen Gage.
So, Sherra, it is great to have you on the Plant-Based Eating for Health show. And I'm curious, I know that you reversed some diseases, but what was your actual motivation for making such a dramatic change in your life?
Well, first of all, Kathleen, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being able to join you today. And yes, my health really was my main motivation. I have an extensive history of heart disease on both sides of my family. My parents were on high blood pressure medications for as long as I could remember. And my grandmother actually had a stroke at my age and left her partially paralyzed. My grandfather died of a massive heart attack in his 50s. And then on my dad's side, it was not better. I had an uncle who had 5 heart attacks, and the last one took his life while he also battled cancer. But when it started to reach my generation, that brought my attention to a different level.
Right.
I had a couple of cousins who were actually younger, considerably younger than I was at the time. And one came home from work with a splitting headache, went to bed and never woke up, had an aneurysm, thought that he was on high blood pressure medications, thought it was under control. But, you know, things happen sometimes, and it happened to him at a very untimely age. And then a second cousin, just a couple of years later, in his 40s also, active, was on his way to a vacation with his wife. They were at the airport. He got stuck in security, told her to go ahead, and he'd meet her there, didn't show up. She starts backtracking, thinking he's stuck in, security. They did something dumb, had something he wasn't supposed to. Saw a small crowd gathering in the concourse, and when she made her way to the front of it, there he lay. My cousin died of a heart attack, his very first one, fatal. And he was also on high blood pressure medications and thought his blood pressure was under control. And maybe it was, but the heart was still not functioning, obviously.
That's incredible. Now, I know that you had a very successful career as an entrepreneur. You did quite a bit professionally, and then it was as a result of so many different things happening that you made a decision to do a big change. And tell us about that.
Well, you're right. I founded my business and ran it for 3 decades, a long time. And it was a facilities business. And we did a lot of facility management and maintenance operations for large corporations. We were in about, actually at one point, about 8 states with about 1,200 employees. So it was a small business, but, a nice size small business. But I noticed how my employees also struggled with health issues. Our employee base, being in the maintenance business, we did a lot of custodial type work. And so we were working with people who struggled with their own health issues because of the same kind of family histories that I had, because of maybe lack of information about how to eat better, some lifestyle considerations, and just being hardworking folks. A lot of our folks work two jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the way home, they'd stop at, a fast food place and grab something to eat. So I saw all of these challenges, and I also was paying attention to kind of the health epidemics that we are still facing in this country with chronic lifestyle diseases.
Well, it's interesting because, as you know, I broke my wrist a short while ago, and it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with there was a freak accident that could have been prevented. It was at an outdoor event, and the producer didn't do what the producer was supposed to do, which was secure the tents at the vendor spaces. A gust of wind came up. One of the tents hit me in the back of the head, and I literally landed on the cement face first. And I knew that I broke my wrist. There was no doubt about it. And got checked for a brain bleed. They checked for concussion, the whole 9 yards. And what I found so interesting, I'm 67 years old, and the first question they would ask me is, what medication are you on? I said, I'm not on any. Well, what about blood thinners? No, I'm not on blood thinners. What about this? What about that? And every single healthcare professional was asking me the same questions. And I said, I am a very healthy woman because I eat plant-based. And that's out of the norm nowadays, which is sad because the norm is to have diabetes, to have heart disease, strokes, all of that. So how long have you been plant-based vegan?
Well, I started my journey when I turned 30 or so, in my early 30s. I just started to notice how my energy would flatline after my typical fast food lunch of burger. I'm in Texas, so a lot of fried chicken, burgers and fries, that kind of thing. And so I just started cutting back little by little, and I cut out the fried foods first because I knew those weren't good for me. And I started reading more and paying more attention to health issues, and trying to find better ways to take care of myself because of the family history. And for the next 20 years, I ate a primarily vegetarian diet. So in my 50s, but I still ate fish and dairy. And so my blood pressure started to creep up, and I thought, wait a minute, this is not supposed to be happening to me. I eat better than most people I know. I'm paying attention to my weight. I'm active. And so I actually got depressed. I kind of felt like a failure. I thought that all of the things I had done over 20 years had not worked. And the reality of the situation was that I hadn't gone quite far enough, particularly given my family history. So the fact that I still ate the dairy and the meat was that last kind of step that I needed to take. And I had to learn that the hard way by actually starting to experience the symptoms.
Interesting. And before we go any further, I want to remind people that this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health. And I'm talking with Sherra, Sherra, what's your web address? How do people get in touch with you?
Oh, it's just sherraaguirre.com. And
Okay.
The same handle on Instagram and Facebook. Well, actually, Facebook is Sherra Aguirre Author.
Can you go ahead and spell that out? Because there's going to be people that may be watching this. Some will be listening to it. So if you could spell that out.
Yes, SherrAguirre.
Excellent. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes. So how long have you been 100% free of dairy and animal?
For me now, about 11 years.
Okay. Excellent. And what's been the big change for you?
No more meds and no more high blood pressure.
Amazing how that works, and I have to tell you, those healthcare professionals, they were shocked. It was like they wanted to write something down. And I said, I said, what you can write down is I'm pretty awesome, and I mean, I couldn't resist. It was like, this could be the norm, but, now you actually coach people now. Do you mentor and coach people on their eating, or what is it that you bring to the experience for the people that want to know how to change their eating?
Well, actually, that's why I wrote my book. Joyful, Delicious Vegan Life Without Heart Disease is the title. And that was partly why I sold the business 5 years ago. I had the idea to write the book. I had actually started. I'd been doing all this research, and but I never had time. With the business, I just didn't have time to devote to it. I'd write for a while, then I may not get back to it for a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't work. So I was very passionate. I've always, coached informally my other family members, my kids, my grandkids. They got an earful, about all of the things that I thought they should pay attention to. And so the book was a way to actually put my experience in a format that I could really share more broadly. And I wrote the book, not just to write a book. My two daughters are authors, so I knew that was hard work to do that. But I wanted to do it because I wanted to share my story. Because I'm not a professional, I'm a medical professional. I'm not an expert in nutrition. I'm someone who has lived and experienced, kind of like you have with your plant-based journey, that has given you remarkable results. And as a result of that, just a wonderful quality of life, so much joy. And it's not just about my personal health, it's about our health as a nation. It's about particularly the health of communities of color who are at the worst end of any of those lifestyle disease statistics.
Right, right. And unfortunately, in certain areas within metropolitan, there are food deserts. It's easier to get a 6-pack of beer and a pack of cigarettes than it is to get a tomato or an apple, and which is unfortunate. And then the government subsidizes meat companies instead of subsidizing plant-based companies. It's just crazy. It's all backwards. And yet, you follow the money. And unfortunately, there is money in sick care, not necessarily healthcare, but sick care. So if somebody is really looking at their life, and, I can look at my own life and the break that I had in my wrist, I have not been depressed at all since I broke my wrist, which is really kind of unusual for a lot of people, because years ago, I was training for a marathon and I was eating a lot of meat at that time, a lot of dairy, and I broke my ankle. I hit a pothole and broke my ankle. And people are going to think, what did she do? Just break her bones? But at that time, my father got really sick. He actually got diagnosed with brain and lung cancer. And 4 weeks later, he passed away. And so I started caretaking my mother. And I ate so much sugar during that time, and I was depressed all the time. I was like, oh, why is this happening? And yada, 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 the stuff that we tell ourselves. And I look at that period in my life compared to now, and the whole getting through the pandemic and the shutdowns and all that. I've dealt with it I think with such grace. And I think it has to do with what I'm putting into my body. So what is your experience with our emotions and depression and stress with what we eat?
Well, it's a big factor. Many of us, in fact, our culture has a conflictual kind of attitude about food. What is good to you is not good for you. We've always, heard that saying. All the stuff I love, I'm not supposed to eat. So there's all this conflict and guilt around what we're supposed to eat, what we're not supposed to eat, what we actually eat. So one of the joys, and I started the title of my book with the word joyful, because I wanted to flip the script about what it means to be vegan and what it means to eat plant-based, because the popular conception is that it involves a lot of denial and restriction on things that you would love, and you have to give up all of this. And what am I gonna eat? So I wanted to flip that around, because my experience and from what I'm hearing, your experience is exactly the opposite. So what we have to do, I think, in my approach to healthy eating and how do we actually make a vegan lifestyle sustainable and fun. I mean, it should be fun. Food is fun. I love to eat. I've always loved to eat. So I refuse to accept the idea that I could not find foods that I would like just as much as anything I was eating, before I went plant-based.
Right.
I just would not believe that. For one thing, I kind of always liked, a lot of the vegetable dishes, especially if they had a lot of spices and herbs. I live in the South. We believe in taste and spice. So what I tell people now is that no, you don't have to give that up. You're going to give up the part of that cuisine or the part of that diet that no longer serves your health. But that's not the tasty part. If you drop a chicken in a pot of boiling water, you take it out, you eat it, it's not going to be very good.
Right, right.
It's care. We just spend so much attention and care about the meat. It's become the center place of our food, for most of us. And so if we take that same kind of care with the spices and the herbs and a little creativity and a little adventure with our foods, it will taste every bit as good as anything that has meat in it or is meat, and sometimes even better.
Absolutely.
I've been able to find recipes that I love, and I'm having more fun eating now than I ever have. So that's my approach.
What I love is when we have somebody for dinner and I do the cooking and it's all plant-based. There's no meat whatsoever, no dairy whatsoever. And they're shocked. It's like, oh, this is so tasty. And, I was actually reading in the book, The Dorito Effect, about how chicken in the 1850s, chicken had 3% body fat in it. It was around 2015, 22% body fat. And it's because they grow them so fast. They put steroids in them, and chicken in and of itself nowadays is not flavorful at all. You have to put a bunch of spices on it, and people have been led to believe that chicken is the healthy meat, and that nothing could be further from the truth. And, in your book and when you work with people, do you get into information about different diseases like the pandemic, for example? We can trace every pandemic to animals. And when we put those into our body, what's really happening. So do you cover any of that with the people that you work with?
Well, and actually my work is more with groups than individuals.
Okay.
So with individuals that reach out to me on social media or in a number of other ways through speaking engagements or whatever, I am a resource for people. I'm a resource. I'm an encourager. I'm a cheerleader. And I try to make sure that I steer them to healthcare providers or health coaches or nutritionists that can help them. And so that's my approach. But yes, one of the things that the pandemic really highlighted is how prevalent our ongoing epidemics of heart disease, of diabetes, of obesity, all of these quote unquote underlying conditions that made the COVID-19 pandemic so much worse.
Right.
Really, it's fueled by our existing health issues based on our existing diet and lifestyle.
Absolutely.
That's really important. And that's one of the reasons why communities of color were hit hardest, because again, we're at the wrong end of those statistics to begin with.
Right. Well, and it's so interesting because about 8-9 months ago, I remember reading an article. It was a blog post or something. And they said a healthy teen diagnosed with COVID, next day dies. And they had a picture of this teen. He was at least 100 pounds overweight. And I thought, that is so misleading. That is a lie. And what I find really interesting is with the new variant, they're not talking about underlying causes at all. They're just talking about increases in cases. They're giving us a half truth. And that's what's so frustrating. And that's why I'm committed to bringing people like yourself on the show to actually shatter the myth and really tell what the truth is. If somebody were to want to start more of a plant-based protocol and they're not ready to commit 100%, what are some things that you would advise to people?
Sure.
Besides getting your book?
Well, yes, thank you. I think it's really important that people approach plant-based eating or any healthy lifestyle change with self-compassion. Part of what for me is very important in the vegan lifestyle is compassion for animals, compassion for each other and in a feeling of community. But self-compassion is really important. So don't beat yourself up. Don't approach it from a negative point of view. Just take one step at a time. So just simply starting to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables is a huge first step. And, spending more of your money in the produce section of the grocery, market, as opposed to on the shelves where you have all the processed foods. The other thing I advise people to do is to, once you've made the decision to try a plant-based diet, tell a friend or someone that you trust what you're doing and why you're doing it. They don't have to agree, but this needs to be someone that will support you, that will have your back, that will, because sometimes, people, it's difficult in situations where you're the only vegan in the room. And it's always nice to have somebody that will kind of be in your corner,
Right.
And support you. The other thing I encourage people to do is to reach out in your own communities and find local groups of people that either are plant-based for many different reasons, but they are a great resource for local restaurants and eateries where you can really try a variety of really tasty plant-based foods. There's so much information on the internet, online, with recipes and all kinds of information. Organizations like Forks Over Knives, I'm a big favorite of theirs. Committee for Responsible Medicine. They all have online programs that will walk people through how to start and to maintain a basic plant-based eating program.
Wonderful.
And it's easy, and they make it accessible to people, even on a budget.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm actually going to be interviewing an author who wrote a book called Plant-Based Eating on a Budget. And I actually a while ago interviewed Ellen Jaffe Jones, who did a book many years ago, How to Eat on $4 a Day, eating plant-based on $4 a day. And a lot of people are misled to believe that eating plant-based and vegan is actually more expensive than eating a diet filled with meat. And nothing could be further from the truth. If you're eating a lot of processed food, yeah, that's one conversation. But if you're eating whole food, you can really eat on a good budget for sure. I mean, I do crock pot meals where we get probably 8 meals out of one big crock pot. So, and, probably $1.50 per person, per serving, so it's not an expensive proposition at all. And what's your favorite meal? If you had to pick one meal, what's your favorite meal?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. Well, I'm going to really expose my Southern roots here, because it's really cornbread and collard greens.
Ooh, that sounds great.
And some black-eyed peas on the side.
Okay. Well, I'm coming over for dinner.
I'm pretty simple. I'm pretty basic.
Well, for me, what I love, like an afternoon meal, will be a lot of different types of beans, and I'll throw some artichoke hearts in there, and I'll have some vegan homemade Caesar salad dressing mix. And, it's like there's so many options for us. So in closing, what are your final thoughts for people who are, really looking at this way of life to improve their health, to be compassionate to animals, and to think about the environment?
Yes, all of those things are really important. And I think that having more than one reason for adopting this lifestyle makes it a lot more meaningful, a lot more fun. You meet people that are doing this for their own reasons that coincide with yours. So I would really encourage people to try it. Health benefits are first and foremost for me, because that's kind of where my focus is. I want people to be encouraged to know that it's never too late to change your health for the better, and it starts in the kitchen.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you, Sherra. This has been delightful. And this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health, encouraging you, go out, try a plant-based way of eating, because you will be amazed at the results that you get. Not only will you feel better, you'll look better, your skin glows, and it's kind to the animals and the environment. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.